Hello everybody, my name is Amy Hanreddy and this is a really short overview of the guidelines for distance learning for students with significant support needs. These guidelines were developed in collaboration with several of our California model demonstration sites. These were Wish Charter School, the Chime Institute, and Tomorrow's Leadership Collaborative. As schools and districts implement their distance learning programs, many students with disabilities are able to adequately access formats provided to all students through a range of accommodations and/or adjusted activities. For students with significant support needs and very young children with disabilities, however, access to learning activities may require a high level of support. Family members have expressed concern regarding how distance learning can work for their child. Some children, teens, and young adults with significant support needs cannot easily access apps, worksheets, or video meeting platforms. Some students who can access these platforms have minimal interest. Barriers to these platforms include vision and hearing disabilities, fine motor skills, as well as disabilities impacting language and communication skills. Families currently have drastically different situations at home and a wide range of capacities to support learning for their children. At the same time, many families are overwhelmed with a wide range of resources and materials available and do not know where to start or how to use these materials with their children. The following guidelines were developed to consider these drastically different circumstances and to provide a template for special educators to design specially designed instruction for their students in a distance learning format. These guidelines are available at the scan code here or are also available on the Padlet at this link, and the link is listed. It's padlet.com/amy_n_hanreddy/online-sigdis. So I'm going to just quickly walk us through the 7 steps of these guidelines and direct you to the different resources that we have on the Padlet. So first, because of the drastically different needs of our families and students, we recommend the Family Support Plan as a starting point for designing distance learning instructional programs for our students. This is what our sample Family Support Plan looks like. And it really works around the family's current hopes and concerns related to distance learning and asks families to identify the types of support that would be most useful to them and their child during this time. We recommend that teachers give suggestions for the types of support that they are able to provide. It asks families to tell us about a typical day in their home and to share any other supports and services they might be receiving during this time. So for example, if they're still receiving some type of in-home behavior therapy or respite care, that might be a factor in designing the daily schedule for the family. The educators are encouraged to work with the family to put together a draft of a daily and weekly schedule so that they have a sense of how much time the student can be spending on academic and other learning activities throughout their day and their week. So on the Padlet, there's also a sample weekly schedule, although we are assuming that this would be very different for different families. Our proposal is that these distance learning plans for these students are really focused around direct support to the family members, with the understanding that these family members are the ones that are most likely going to provide the majority of direct instruction to their children. So for that reason, we want to make sure that personal connections are emphasized throughout this distance learning program. And those personal connections can be established through video conferencing platforms like Zoom or Google Hangouts, or through simply phone or text. And if educators don't want to share their own phone numbers, they can use a Google Voice number. The educator can then provide some online training resources to families based around their needs and their goals. And on the Padlet, there are a variety of different training resources available. Many of these are focused around communication and literacy, but we also have some related to math and movement and fitness. There are some geared specifically towards children who are very young, in infant, toddler, and preschool. So then the educator will set regular meetings with the family to check in, talk about progress. They should be keeping a log of these contacts with families and take notes related to the resources or follow-ups that might be needed. There are several video models of strategies available on the Padlet through those training resources, but many educators are also creating their own video models where they're videotaping themselves, maybe implementing the strategy so that the parent or family member can practice implementing that same strategy with their child. So as we're developing that family support plan, we want to work together with the family to develop a daily routine that can work for them and their children. So we need to understand who can provide support throughout the day and at what time. It doesn't have to be a rigid schedule where everything happens at the same time every day, but it should establish a predictable daily rhythm for the child. The schedule should also allow for some independent activities. It might be that the student just needs a time during the day to kind of relax and watch videos so that family members can do other things or care for other children or do their own work or take care of their own household tasks. We do have a sample daily plan that is provided on the Padlet, and you can see that there's a combination of more structured academic times with links to resources provided, as well as some unstructured free times or movement breaks so that students aren't expected to kind of be in a directed learning type of activity throughout the day. So those activities that we're asking families to engage in with their children should be engaging and interactive. They should be hands-on as much as possible. And we want to make sure that we're not simply providing families with a list of links or with busy work. We want these to be activities that are designed around their students' interests and preferences and that embed those communication literacy, math concepts, and other IEP goals. So those IEP goals should be connected to the different activities that we're recommending. And we do have a resource of an IEP goal matrix available on the Padlet as well. And this is a resource that's been around for a long time, but it's simply a tool to allow educators to connect the IEP goals to the daily activities that students are engaging in. So they are kind of able to show what that connection is and then use that information to track progress towards goals. We should be providing families with really simple systems to track progress. For example, we can ask them to videotape themselves doing one activity with the student a couple times a week, or we can give them something specific to kind of keep track of in a list, like communication successes for the day that might relate to the child's communication goal. And then during those regular meetings is an opportunity to talk about progress. So we also have a form available on the Padlet that provides prompts for educators to use in those check-in meetings with families, which we expect to be about once a week. And those check-ins will just prompt families to describe their successes and challenges from the past week, the goals that they had been working on over the past week and how things are going. And then together they can identify a couple goals to work on for the upcoming week, and then some specific activities to help families to target those goals within each day. We also provided an opportunity to have a discussion about the family support, because remember that we're thinking about increasing the family's capacity to provide the support that their children need. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to ask families what they are noticing as an area of need for themselves and the skills that they feel like they want to develop further. And then as educators, we can be providing those resources or strategies or helping families to identify actions that they might take to address those areas of need. For students that have been included in general education classes for all or part of the day, we want to ensure that our special educators continue to work with general education teachers to stay connected to their teachers and their general education classmates. And that communication with classmates is another way to practice those literacy and communication skills. So if students are using Zoom or another video platform, we can make sure that these students have a way to participate in those discussions. If there's not a synchronous form of instruction happening, then we can embed as part of those activities that students are doing throughout the week some literacy activities where students can practice using email or engage in some writing tasks or using augmentative and alternative communication tools to generate some messages that can be sent to peers. Some schools are also using video conference platforms for some informal opportunities for interaction. So things like social circles or lunch clubs where students can engage in some more casual conversations about a specific topic. And then finally, we want to make sure that educators continue to maintain those regular personal connections with the student in addition to their family. So we have a resource that we have provided also on the Padlet that just has several strategies for having some short video meetings with students or recording videos to be sent to the student or sending some daily messages to the student to make sure that they're kind of feeling that connection with educators who they're not now seeing on a regular basis. So that's the overview of the guidelines that we've provided. If you have questions or feedback, please contact me at amy.hanready@csun.edu. Thank you.